a picture of it.
All right, guys.
This is the same one.
Good to meet you.
All right. No, it's just going to be in the pocket room. Somebody have an eye.
You're good.
Yeah.
I trust you.
You should. It's very shady around here.
Yeah.
But inside this box is the iconic Daytona 500 trophy. Outside this room is the iconic super speedway driver, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., fresh off winning the Great American Race. We got some great interviews coming with him, some great stuff coming. Make sure you're subscribed, make sure you're following Rubbin' Is Racing, and stay tuned with Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
Hey everybody, welcome on back. Rubbin' Is Racing. As promised, we have the Daytona 500 winner, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. If you look at his Wikipedia page, I looked at it last night. Somebody went on and fucked with it. Richard Lynn Stenhouse Jr., born October 2nd, 1987, drives the number 47 Chevy Camaro for JTG Daugherty Racing. True. He won back-to-back Nationwide Series championships in 2011 and 2012 and was the 13th Sprint Cup Series Rookie of the Year. True. But nobody gives a fuck about that anymore. This is what somebody wrote because he just won the 2023 Daytona 500, the longest Daytona 500 in history, so long that he ran out of gas. Welcome aboard, Ricky. It's an absolute pleasure having you on here. And I'm going to start off right away talking about the pleasure. Nobody shits on Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Like when you go and you talk to people, we said it right before we came in here, how close you are with the garage guys, with our guys Chase and Dale, who we're friendly with. And you had the, you know, I don't know, the decency or the normalcy to be like, those guys grind. They grind their ass off. Like it seems like you appreciate that. And then you speak, or at least the cameras spoke to all the other drivers, and they seemed legitimately happy for you, except for Logano. Logano seemed like he was a little pissed off, but second place kind of sucks. I mean, it is what it is. But, you know, like Kyle, who I know you're very close friends with, even, you know, Christopher Bell and all that stuff with the dirt track background and gave you a push and came in third, so was a little bit bitter about that too. It's a universally liked thing. How is that for you? Like, is it one of those jobs that's extremely difficult, right? Like some people have jobs that are extremely difficult, but they enjoy them because when they go to the office every day, they're surrounded with good people. Give us an idea of what it's like to be Ricky Stenhouse Jr. going to work every day.
Going to work is a dream come true. I mean, I'm racing cars for a living, something that I've been going to a racetrack since I was 6 weeks old. Right. My dad was racing. So the actual dream job is definitely a dream job. But, you know, yeah, I like the people I work with. I love the people on our race team. We're a small team. We got about 40, 45 employees, you know, just out there grinding away, you know, small team. But, you know, I also love competing against a lot of our competitors. You know, a lot of us are friends. We're cordial. We're happy with each other, and we just love to compete. We know that, you know, once we put the helmet on, you know, we're going to battle. But you know, we can all appreciate the hard work and sacrifices that, you know, each one of us took to get there, and I think that shows up a lot in the garage.
You mentioned small team. You're the only car in your team. Some of these teams, you know, have the best equipment. They got 3 teammates there alongside them, which is essential and crucial for a super speedway race, someplace where you, Ricky Stenhouse, has massive success at. How hard is it being the only car without really, you know, any teammates? I know obviously there at the end you did have drafting partners, but is that a testament to the relationships you have in the garage? Or, like, what is that dynamic like being a single car?
Do you pay them on the side?
I can't tell you all my secrets. No, I'm just kidding. You know, I think, you know, definitely winning super speedway races prior, being in contention for wins. I've, you know, maybe rubbed some people the wrong way on some super speedways, but you'll have that. It's a game of inches, and you know, every now and then you make a mistake, and you know, but I would say for the most part throughout, you know, I would say even the last, you know, probably 4 or 5 years, I feel like I've done a really good job of, you know, drafting well with others on the racetrack. And, you know, yeah, for us, single car team, you don't have like an actual teammate out there. We had a lot of Chevy teammates out there, which was very beneficial. Obviously, you saw Larson and I do the little shake and bake on Logano down the back stretch.
That was awesome.
And
loved it.
That to me was like the winning move. And, you know, so having friends outside of the car definitely pay off in some situations like that.
Let's talk about the hardware because people tend to like that stuff. You came in here, your dad, by the way, a proud papa too. It was very, very nice to see a guy come in here with just that shit-eating grin ear to ear. It was wonderful. You're here with your lovely wife. You're still newlywed. I think you're only 4 months into it, right?
October 26th. I'm not sure.
Yeah, so still newlywed. Your wife is here also, proud as anything else. You bring the trophy, and the trophy is cumbersome. It comes in the big, the wheeler and whatnot, and it's not one of those cups that you can kind of hold up. This is a big boy. Spider is a clips behind it. I probably should be sitting in the middle seat, to be honest. But what about the rest?
50 pounds.
It's a 50-pounder, huh?
Yeah.
What about the rest of the hardware? You started to show it up before we got in here. So a simple little guy from Mississippi. That's what I'm going to say because that's how we're going to start the biography at some point.
Yes.
A little boy from Mississippi who went to a track when he was only 6 weeks old. He's now sitting at Barstool Sports, the pinnacle of sports media, and he's wearing a ring. What's that ring look like? That's a Super Bowl ring. That's
65 diamonds on the 65th anniversary Daytona 500 ring. And then, man, they really hit the upgrade button. Got the Rolex for a Mississippi boy. Grew up cutting my teeth on the dirt tracks, working in the engine shop with my dad. It's kind of wild.
Yeah.
In New York City.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a nice little haul. The Rolex is beautiful, by the way.
Thank you.
They did a really nice job with it. Whoever flipped that bill. Talk about the Mississippi thing, being the first driver from Mississippi, because it's a big deal. It's a big deal to Ben Mintz. I know that. He's one of our guys here. Is the king of the South, or was the king of the South. How big of a deal is it for you? Because you've done a couple of things here, like Brad being a minority owner, first minority owner who I think had won the Daytona 500, first guy from Mississippi. There's a couple of milestones that you passed once you won this race. Talk about that.
Yeah, it's huge. Having a 5-time NBA All-Star as an owner is super cool. It was a bummer he wasn't in victory lane. He had some eye surgery, so he couldn't stick around. I was like, but I didn't know he wasn't sticking around. Like I saw him, before the race, and I'm looking around victory lane. I know I'm not missing him. You can't miss him, right? And then our first, or not first, but our female owner Jody.
Yes. Sorry, I should mention that.
She was in victory lane as well, and this team consists of a group of owners that all play an integral role in making this team go around. With Gordon Smith, Brad, obviously. Man, when I talk to Brad, I am fired up. So I did talk to him Sunday morning, dude. I was ready to go to battle.
What was that pep talk like?
Well, just when he talks, he has the competitive spirit, right?
Does.
Like you can't take a professional athlete, even though they retire. You can't take them out of that mode.
Yeah.
And especially when you're a team owner in a sport like racing. And I don't know if anybody knows, but Brad's history in our sport goes back way beyond most owners in our sport.
Right.
I mean, he's been around this sport for a long time. He loves racing. Definitely fun to drive for him. And, he doesn't really ever – I feel like I don't really even know what he said prior to us going to race, but just him there gives me, like, the confidence, like, hey – we're going.
Do you think it means something to him, or there's any trash talk exchange for the fact that between him and Michael Jordan?
Yes, 100%.
Yes, it does.
23-11, yet to win a Daytona 500. Here comes single car team JTT Doherty coming in. Ricky Stenhouse.
Brad definitely tells me that there's I don't know, there's definitely a lot of banter going on with those two. And, Brad definitly probably feels like he has a little one-up right now.
Yeah.
And then we spoke to Conor Daly yesterday a little bit, the Indy driver.
Oh, yeah.
And again,
I drafted with him at the beginning of the race. We were chilling in the back.
Yeah, and so like the money team, Floyd has nothing to do with it, really. You know what I mean? Like Floyd threw his name up there, and I'm a big boxing guy. I cover boxing also from the thing.
I mean, what a team name, though.
Oh, it's
awesome.
absolutely fantastic. So I think that's the difference between like Floyd and Brad, probably.
Yeah.
But speaking of those guys like Connor and Travis, we were lucky enough to speak to Jimmy Johnson a couple of weeks before Daytona, and we really thought that was going to be the narrative of the race, particularly for people who aren't diehard race fans, to see the return of Jimmy Johnson. But I think the narrative going into the race really was the Travis Pastrana story.
Oh, yeah.
Conor it's just the worst thing in the world for Conor, because he would have been more of a story if Travis hadn't been there, and obviously Travis, qualifying so early. Talk about that. Talk about having these guys come in and trying to eat your lunch, but them being the nicest guys in the world. And, you got nobody ran them into the wall. Yeah. Everyone was very, very decent to them. So talk about that.
Well, I mean, they're world-class drivers as well, right? In different, avenues of racing. And, you look at what Travis has done. Travis being in the race, I snapped a 199 race winless streak. 199's Travis's number. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but appreciate you, Travis. I was at Roush Fenway Racing when Travis was there in the Nationwide Series at the time, and he just loves racing. He loves that. He knows what we do on Sundays is very difficult. Conor coming over, totally different race cars than what he's used to, but he understands that these are challenging, right? No different than IndyCar. I mean, any one of us going over there would know it's a challenge, but we respect it, and you can tell that, Travis was there. He wasn't there as like a gimmick or a joke. He takes it serious. He put a lot of time and effort into it. The same with Conor. And yeah, we had Jimmy Johnson back, which was cool. There was a lot of drivers in the race I don't think had ever raced with Jimmy Johnson.
Right.
And, so I'm sure they were pumped up about that as well.
You won the right race. Jimmy Johnson was back. Travis was there. Even though Logano cut his fuel line, I think we'd found that out later on.
Yeah.
But so all this other stuff, we're sort of back from COVID for the first time. We had that 6-minute flyover from the Blue Angels. Dirk Bentley on the infield.
So sick.
This was a Daytona for the ages, right?
It was.
It's back.
And
you fucking won it.
I felt it.
Yeah, you won it.
Sunday morning, I woke up and I don't know. I felt good about the day, but one of the coolest parts was riding around after driver intros in the truck. The infield was slammed. You could not get another camping spot in the infield. The grandstands were sold out. I was looking at all the people that were down for the Dirks concert in the infield and for our driver intros, and I'm looking at the stands. I'm like, these people are going in the stands, but I don't know where they're going to sit.
Right.
There was a lot of energy, in the stadium, and it felt awesome to be a part of it. But it was also kind of weird for me, all day. There was a lot of stuff going on, but it seemed like kind of super quiet for me. And I don't know, I just felt good about it.
Locked in.
So
all 3 Cup wins have come on super speedway tracks.
Yeah.
You don't seem thrilled about that.
Look, a NASCAR Cup Series victory is a Cup Series
win's a
victory.
win.
I would take a rain out.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. But I do have some other tracks I want to
Okay. Well, so that was my question. I wasn't discounting you saying.
I
my
appreciate
question
that.
was more so people that say, "Oh, Ricky's only a driver that I would throw money on a super speedway." What other spots should we look for you? Riding this momentum, you said you broke a 199 race streak. You just won the biggest race you can win. We
finished second at Dover last year.
Yeah. You finished 10th at Fontana Auto Club last year.
Yep.
Let's talk about this weekend for a sec. How do you feel going into there, coming off this
so
high?
I feel like this offseason, I've spent a lot of time in the Chevy simulator.
Yeah.
And we feel like we have made a lot of gains this offseason. Obviously our Super Bowl, Daytona 500, first race of the year, we focus on that. The guys are, really hand polishing our car, making sure everything's perfect. But, for us as the race team, we were excited to get to Fontana this weekend because we were good there last year, but we feel like we have made progress on our drivability and speed of our race car. And so I'm anxious to get out on track, especially after a win. You got to carry that momentum into it. And, it was statistically one of our better racetracks last year with average running position, average speed, and obviously qualified top 10, finished top 10. So our Kroger team's been working hard behind the scenes. Dude, they worked some late nights. They didn't get our car loaded till 10 o'clock on Tuesday, I think, because we were down celebrating on Monday. So they got a full day cut out of their schedule. So they're ready to go as well.
What's the plan with the car? Will that be?
So after the Daytona 500, NASCAR tears your car all the way down
To inspect
everything. The guy's got to put it back together because it goes in the Daytona 500 museum all year long.
That was my question.
We don't get it back until next year's Daytona 500. We'll take it out.
And then will it be ran again,
So
or
we
will
had
you
to
guys
buy
put it
another
on
car,
display? Yeah,
and,
it's costly, right?
Yeah,
But
for the team.
It's that's champagne problems.
Right.
Champagne
Yeah.
It's
problems.
costly for everyone except for the guy with
High-class
65
problems,
diamonds
right?
on his
Yes.
fucking hand and a Rolex on the other one. Out of your mouth, you had said, so we kind of won the Super Bowl, and now we're excited to go to Fontana. We had this argument on the podcast yesterday with Quig's Eye, and Liam had said, you see a Hall of Fame driver like Kyle Busch, or a guy who's been around and has been in almost 20 of these, like Truex, but hasn't won any. Does it become almost a stigma, sort of in the way that Charles Barkley never won a championship? Kind of everyone knows that. Dan Marino, I think, is probably the standout guy who's never won, a Super Bowl. How do you feel this ranks? Is there a comp in NASCAR to Super Bowl MVP, to a Super Bowl and an MVP, to a Cup Series championship, and also a Daytona 500? I mean, your only thing that's left to check off, you'd love to win every race, is this Cup Series championship. But
Yeah.
where does this rank, and how does it rank with other drivers, and how does it screw with legacies?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously, I'll let other people. I mean, there's other people that decide that, right? But for me, I do know. I talked to Tony Stewart after the race, and he just staring at my ring, right?
Right.
He won Cup championships. I'm sure he would have traded a Cup championship.
Yes.
Obviously he's got multiple.
Right.
He would trade one of them for a Daytona 500 win. And when you hear past champions talk about that, that is something. Mark Martin, Hall of Famer,
Yeah.
never won a Daytona 500 or a championship.
And that. That's my whole point. That's an asterisk that's in your head. You don't care about it anymore because you got one.
We got one.
You're talking about,
And I think, going back to the Daytona 500 next year after winning one, you're so much more free going into the race. It's like, man, we already got another one. Let's get another one.
Yeah.
If it doesn't happen this year, I've already got one. We'll try and get another one the following year.
Right.
It also seems like the guys that win one have to have great success.
Of getting another.
Yeah.
I've thought about that.
Yeah.
I'm pumped and excited for. Obviously, we go back to Daytona already. This year. In August, but I've thought about that. I do feel like this elevated my career for sure. Some. I don't know in the grand scheme of things where that is, but the Xfinity Series championships were a huge honor, a huge accomplishment. Mm-hmm. Winning a couple Cup races. That's a tough thing to do, but the Daytona 500 is definitely another step up.
Right. I'm sure Denny would trade a couple of Daytona 500s.
Yeah,
for a championship,
absolutely.
right? Like he's got 3 Daytona 500s, no Cup championship.
Right.
Those two are hand in hand, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
I'm not sure if there's a comp in other sports. I'm just not sure if there is a one-to-one as there often
It's
is.
definitely different in NASCAR. Yeah.
Do you have anything else?
No, that's
Then
pretty
we're
much
gonna
all
let
I
you
got.
go.
We're excited to watch you.
He's got nothing else to worry about now because forever he's a Daytona 500 winner. So Ricky, it was an absolute Ricky Waffle House Jr. It was an absolute pleasure.
I like that.
What was the order at Waffle House? People want to know.
bacon, egg, and cheese, hash brown bowl, crispy bacon, crispy hash browns, pecan waffle.
Fantastic. I'm going to have to save you one of my old belts, you fat bastard. It was a pleasure meeting you. A pleasure meeting your dad and your whole family. Congratulations, Ricky Stenhouse Jr.